Jeff, I did not realize how big that Slimer figure behind you actually is.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's about the size of my arm.
It didn't look that big in the picture you sent.
No, honestly, it was a big
Yeah.
surprise when I got it in the first place because UPS is like, "Oh, here's a box." I'm like, I didn't order anything.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming back to the Film Asylum, where if you're crazy about movies, you belong here. We are your hosts, Colin Peters.
John Rashetter.
And Jeff Manfred.
And today we have a very special guest with us, Kevin Mangold.
Hello, good morning. Thanks for having me, guys.
Kevin, thank you for coming on. Can you please give us a little introduction about yourself and I guess why you're on here with us?
I guess I'm on here because I just played Slimer in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. That's pretty much what everybody's been talking to me about lately. I come from a stunt background. I was an actor when I was a kid and done a lot of sitcoms and TV shows and stuff as a kid. And then kind of worked my way up to stunts. I was doing horse racing for a while and then did stunts. And I mostly do creature suits and stunt double for kids. I'm 5 feet tall, so anybody that's 5 feet tall, I double for. Um, and and then I got the opportunity of a lifetime, and I got to play Slimer. I got to go to London a couple times, New York, and so now I'm living the life of Slimer, I guess.
So now when your journey started, were you originally an actor or did you have aspirations to be a stunt guy from the very beginning?
I had no aspirations to be a stunt guy. I went to the USC Film School and I majored in film, and I took all kinds of acting classes and stage movement classes and all of that. And my goal in life was to be Michael J. Fox, pretty much. And it worked out a little bit for a while. I did some good sitcoms. I was on a whole lot of TV shows as a kid. Silver Spoon, Saved by the Bell, Highway to Heaven, a whole bunch of shows that people would remember if they're old enough. And then when I got into college and I was in my early 20s, I was playing like 14, 15. And I got to a point where, you get up into 24, 25 or so, and you can't play 14 anymore. And so that's what happened with me. And so I kind of had to reinvent myself a little bit. And I started doing creature suits. I worked at Disneyland as Peter Pan. I worked at Marriott's Great America as Brainy Smurf. So I started doing suits, where I learned how to sort of incorporate character, how to become a character and incorporate, a suit and become them. And I just discovered that I really, really liked it. And I've been trying ever since as much as possible to get into suits, So it's a really awesome way of performing with people and yet not being yourself. So I kind of just pursued that. And between stunts, doing like stunt double work for kids and doing creature work, I've kind of pieced together a pretty nice career. Along with the acting, being in a suit, it's not that you're not acting, you're obviously still embodying the character and all of that. So I feel like I still get to use my acting skills and all of that stuff. And I get to kill that acting bug a little bit that I have. So now I do, I audition for acting roles. I do a lot of commercials and stuff still without a mask on, and I do a lot of double work for kids. But now my bread and butter is creature suits. I play spiders and dogs and monkeys and ghosts.
And you said you're
Now,
also a horse jockey, correct?
Yeah, I was a thoroughbred jockey for 9 years at Santa Anita and Hollywood Park, and kind of raced all over the country. But yeah, I raced at Santa Anita, which is the pretty much the top level, and I won the Oregon Derby, which is not quite the Kentucky Derby, but it's the Derby of Oregon. It's the biggest race of Oregon, and I won that one. So
That's
I've had some
awesome.
good successes in my racing career as well.
Way cool. Now, you're mentioning about the creative process or having to reinvent yourself with the creature suits. I want to ask, what is your creative process like for becoming a character? For example, Slimer in Frozen Empire. What was the creative process like?
Well, there are obviously two creative processes that have to go on. There's on the one side, there's the physical process, and that's mostly removed from me until the suit is made, until it's ready for me to get in it. But it's all made exactly to my form, and they took a mold, full body mold, and they made the entire suit, like the head and the like everything. The arms are molded exactly to me, and so there was a whole lot of physical preparation as far as getting the suit ready. Ariane Tutin at REN is the guy who designed the suit and created it, and he and all of his people for months didn't tell me what I was working on. And so I didn't really have the opportunity to start doing character study or anything at that point. I was really just coming in and being measured, and they were like, yeah, he's got really long arms. That's great. Let's use him. So, but when they finally did get around to telling me what it was, then I got to begin, doing the character study and getting to know who Slimer was. And obviously all of that is separate from the physical part of building the suit. But I treat a creature suit like I do any character when I'm acting, and that is to find their motivations and to get into their head. What did they eat for breakfast? What do they hope to eat later? What are they hoping to do later? What are their worries? What are their hopes? All of those things. And so every bit of that, was in my head every time I was in the suit. And still, because I feel so close to Slimer, every time I think of him, I feel that he's this full-bodied character person who I've created before I ever got in. So to me, that side of it is the much bigger creation side than I'm not a fabricator, and so I don't think as much about the building of the suit as much as I think of the building of the character. And so I did that with Slimer, and of course I have my whole backstory, and I know for me, there is no real answer where Slimer comes from in the movies. In canon, there's nobody can tell me like you're wrong. There's been the discussions of he was a king before he died, and I've read that he was a gangster, and there's the John Belushi stuff, which was never really that Slimer was meant to be John Belushi after he died. It's just that Slimer was physically, they formed Slimer after John Belushi, and so I did watch a lot of John Belushi videos to get his movements. And I watched obviously the 1984. It's kind of the only one, but I watched the 1984 Ghostbusters over and over and over, and specifically the Slimer stuff. I watched that over and over and over. When I was in the office in the shop when we were still, before we went to London, Ariane invited over the previous Slimers, and so I got to meet Mark Brian Wilson and Robin Shelby, and they gave me pointers, and I asked them questions, and they watched me and said, maybe look at this, and watch your elbow, or whatever it was, that makes sure that you're doing. And so I took all of their feedback, and then I would get feedback from Jason and Gil on how it looks. And I didn't really feel well. The first time I got super excited and I felt like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Was when, after we'd filmed some of the test footage, I was able to walk around and look at the monitor on playback. Because, when we're filming it, everybody's like laughing, like, ah, but then I don't know what's going on. And so the first time in just the test, and the suit wasn't even painted yet. It was just still the foam without all the detailed paint and stuff.
Okay.
I looked on the monitor and I thought, holy crap, that's Slimer right there. And I was, throwing food, and I had buckets of popcorn. But when I looked at the monitor, I was seeing Slimer, and it was the first time that it got like nostalgic and everything. Like, holy crap, that is Slimer right there. And so from that moment on, I've just really, I have embodied him, and I feel like I'm so close with him. And now I've even missed him. I call Aryan and say, hey, I'm really missing Slimer today. Would you mind if I come in and visit him for a little bit? And I feel like I have gotten so close to Slimer that we're buddies now.
That's awesome.
Slimer and Trevor are buddies too, so we're all buddies.
Now, have you had training to work with the I guess in the makeup and as your creatures, or is it just something you had to learn over time?
No, I just learned it over time, actually. I think most people in my position do go to some sort of class or something to learn that sort of thing, but I didn't. I just learned it by doing like theme parks. I said Mickey Mouse and at Disneyland. And I also played Peter Pan at Disneyland, which is a face character. And so you get a whole lot of opportunity to come into contact with people and remain in character. You have to stay in character all the time, whether you're in a suit or out of a suit. And so most of my practice, I guess, if that's it, would be from interacting with people in the real world as a character. And then being brought onto sets to do it kind of just came naturally, I think.
You all right, John?
No, I'm good. Yeah, just a little bit. But the other question I want to ask you, Kevin. As a stuntman, I have to ask, do you have any scars that you have from a stunt that has gone wrong throughout your career? Has anything happened to you in terms of like battle wounds or battle scars for you?
So many.
So many.
A whole bunch. Yeah. I've broken a whole lot of stuff. I've broken almost everything. In fact, I've broken everything except my collarbones. And I should knock on something because I know that's really painful. So I've been lucky to have not broken my collarbone, but I have broken everything. I've broken my arms, my legs, my neck, my back. I've broken my ribs. I've had on Brightburn or on Captain Fantastic rather, I was mountain climbing. I had to do a really long fall, and we did 21 takes. And on the very first one, I broke my ribs. So I did a whole lot of takes with broken ribs. I've done lots of falls off of horses. I've got scars on my eyebrows. I have scars all over, actually. I've broken a lot. I've been run over by camera cars. A lot of injuries. But the truth of it is, it's not that I want to be injured, obviously, and I think stunt coordinators are always very safe. They're always as safe as they can be. The thing is, I'm there to protect, the actor that I'm doubling, obviously. Mm-hmm. And so if I do get hurt, my way of looking at it is I just save that actor from not only the actor from getting injured, but I save the whole project, because if the lead actor breaks his leg, he's not coming in for the next few weeks, so it's going to shut down the whole project. So when I do get hurt, I try to look at it as I saved the project right there. So it's always worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good way of putting it. Wow.
Yeah. Sacrifice for art, right?
Yeah. Yeah. and I'm willing to set myself on fire for everybody's enjoyment. So.
Wait, have you done a full body burn?
I have. Yeah. Yeah. I've fallen from buildings. I've been hit by cars. I've drowned. I've been set on fire. I've done a whole lot of, well, that's the crazy thing about doubling for kids, actually. Most stunt doubles, they have one specialty. They're like a fire guy. They're the burn guy. You need to burn somebody, we got the burn guy. Or, the motocross guy. We've got all these guys who are really, really good at motocross. Or martial arts, So most stunt people have the thing that they're really, really good at. But for somebody in my situation who basically double kids, I'm 5 feet tall. So there are a few of us, but very few males now who, a lot of times they go to girls who are doubling kids. And so for me and for the other doubles who are doubling kids, we have to sort of know everything. So if they call me up and say, hey, I'm doing a surfing stunt, I got a kid surfing who doesn't know how to surf, so we need you to come in and surf. Do you know how to do that? And if I don't, which in that case I didn't, and I'd surfed a little bit, a few times, but not enough that I would, like you got to be good for a TV show. So then they send me, for a week or two to take classes.
Oh, wow.
And I've done that for so many things: motocross, rock climbing, surfing, scuba diving, where they basically say, yeah, we need you to get up, get your skills up a little bit on this. And so we'll send you to a class. And so it's a pretty awesome way to make a living. I get to go do adventures on their dime and then go get paid to to do the adventure even further. It's like, yeah, I will go rock climb and let somebody work with me for a few weeks to teach me how to rock climb. And then I get to fly somewhere and go get up on a big mountain and do some more rock climbing. And so it's pretty awesome. But I don't really have to be good at any one thing, because whenever I'm not good at something, then they just train me and teach me how to do it.
That's really cool.
Now, how does like one go about a burn class? And is it like, oh, we set your arm on fire and then we do your legs and then a full body, or how, like who just wakes up and says, hey, I'm ready for a full body burn today, let's go?
Yeah, I haven't actually done a class, so I really don't know how they would do it. I mean, I have ideas of how I would do it. If I were going to teach a class, I would do it just like you said.
Okay.
I would get someone to first light their hand, and they would. I mean, I'll tell you, a burn today from a burn even just 5 years ago is night and day. I can put the gel on my hand and light it and just sit right here and let it burn and burn and burn, and I wouldn't feel it for a good 3 minutes.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
fantastic. You put it right on your face. It really is fantastic stuff. Obviously we don't do that. We're all very safe, and we have burn suits on under the clothes that, we put the gel on the clothes over the top, and then we have a burn suit underneath and all that stuff. But it'll still kind of lick up your face and stuff, and so you have to put not the burn gel, but you put safety gel on your face and on your skin and places where you don't want it. And but I think as far as on the day when a stunt person comes in to do the stunt, there isn't any time for any of that stuff. And whether the stunt double has ever done a burn or not doesn't matter at all. The director's got like, let's go. And so when they're ready to paint you up with the stuff and light you, then they just do it, and I mean, it's not to say they don't say, are you ready? But there isn't a whole lot of preparation time for any stunt, really. When they're ready to go,
Wow.
they're ready.
That's crazy to me, just because of like how expensive these shots are. Like every take is always so expensive because time is money on a big budget production, that you'd think that they would take their time a little bit more with a stunt guy. Or has there ever been a time that you can think of where you said, yo, this isn't even like safe for me, we got to rethink this whole scenario, maybe you should film it at like a low angle instead, or move lighting around, and that'll help with like the look of the scene or anything? Because I know firsthand, I know directors can be like really like, you just do the stunt work, or you just act and let us take care of behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. Luckily, I don't ever have to worry about that, because I don't ever say whether I will or won't. I have a stunt coordinator. Every project has a stunt coordinator. And when I'm hired on a movie, that stunt coordinator is going to tell me what I'm doing. And I have never had a stunt coordinator ask me to do something that was unsafe. In fact, I'm almost always trying to push it. I'm like, are you sure I can go a little higher? And that's almost always the case. And that's how I am when I'm a stunt coordinator. I think coordinators make a point of being overly safe to the stunt performers, and obviously they are the middleman between the performer and the director, so they have to please the director as well. And what the shot that the director wants to get, the coordinator has to say to them, we can't do that, or we can do it twice, and a lot of times, really, what happens most often in this case is the director will say, can we do it again? And the stunt coordinator will say, you've got three shots, and that's it. And so sometimes there's that, but as the performer, I don't ever question what the coordinator asks me to do, and I'll just do what he asked me to do, and I'll assume that he knows what he's doing, and he's got me covered, and he's safe. And I've never, I have been injured from doing stunts, but but that isn't outside, not because the coordinator was doing something unsafe. It's usually more so because somebody on the crew goes the wrong direction, or there's miscommunication somewhere, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we've heard stories like Brandon Lee from The Crow, the incident with the driver from The Dark Knight, like
Rust now.
Rust.
Rust,
Yeah.
weapons testing gone wrong. Yes.
Yeah,
And it's a shame that that stuff happens. And you would think, like, by now we would have safety precautions so ironclad that,
we do.
yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah.
I mean, we do. And when accidents like that happen, it's because people are going around the safety protocols. No doubt about it. I've line produced, I've produced films that I've also stunt coordinated on that had guns everywhere. Not a single one of them would have fired a real round. I would never have a gun on my set. In fact, I've kicked people off my set for having a gun on them. Say, I don't allow that, get off my set. So I would never have a gun. I would never allow that. I would never have people out shooting practice, target practice at lunch. I would never allow that.
Yeah. I don't blame you for that one bit. I know actor Michael Berryman was telling me a story where he said that because he was actually part of The Crow, but it got deleted. So he got to know Brandon Lee really well, and he took gun precautions a bit more seriously. And when he was following the strict rules, I remember one time, I think there was like a practice procedure. I don't know if it still happens anymore, but he said he actually tackled somebody like while a scene was going on, and he said, and the director was like, "What are you doing? You ruined like a $20,000 shot." And he said, "I don't care. We
Yeah.
didn't follow the proper procedure." So kudos to him for doing the right thing, because no
For sure.
amount of money for an accident is worth anything like that.
Yeah. Yep. And I know many stunt coordinators, most that I've worked with, will do the exact same thing. They'll jump right in the middle of a shot, and they don't care about money. If it's unsafe, they'll jump right in and stop it. I mean, the money of to stop whatever money is spent on rolling another take, or even stop and let's shoot tomorrow because this isn't right. We got to do another setup. No matter what that expense is, it's always going to be much less than if you have some lawsuit because someone gets injured or killed, or you stop the production because one of the actors gets hit by something, or someone lands on him, or someone kicks him accidentally, or whatever.
Oh, 100%.
What is your favorite stunt that you have done in a production?
All right, this is a great story. I did a commercial for Samsung, and it never aired. I don't know why it never aired. It's my favorite, but I use it for everything. I'm not supposed to. I'll probably get in trouble, but I use it for my images on all my social media, and I've got it on my website and everything. But so I'm doubling a kid, and a helicopter flies up over a hill behind me over my shoulder, and comes right over my head, and I reach up with my right arm and I grab it, and it carries me away, and it carries me away like way over buildings, like 7-story buildings. It takes me way up in the air, and I'm like kicking and stuff, and then it circles and it brings me back. And we did that probably 15 times. So what I would do was I had a harness on under my clothes, a hidden harness with a safety wire that was like the kind that you can kind of see through. And so I would reach up and grab the skid as the helicopter came by, and then I would have about 2 seconds to clip in where they were going to cut away. And then once I'm clipped in, then the helicopter takes off and it like swoops around. And so one of the takes, okay, I have to just say, I have a broken adrenaline. Apparently my adrenaline doesn't work. So I have to like run in front of diesel trucks and like, just to try to get any adrenaline. Like if a train is coming, I'll run in front of it, like just to feel any bit of adrenaline, So I had nothing to keep me from being afraid or anything. For years, I hadn't had any stunt that had even made me, give me the like slightest little heartbeat. Anyway, so this one, he swooped really sharp, and I kind of started, my feet were like swinging up, and like kind of started pulling away from the bar that the skid of the helicopter that I was hanging on to. And of course I had the safety harness, so I knew I wasn't falling. But as my hand started slipping for about a second, I got maybe not even a second, I got that, oh shit, like, oh, I'm gonna fall. And I got this whole like adrenaline rush and everything. And as soon as he stopped turning, it came back. I came back and I had a good hold, and it went away. And I haven't felt adrenaline since that moment. So I always look back, and that was years ago. And I look back on that like, oh, weren't those nice memories? That was so wonderful. All of that adrenaline.
Nice.
So we shot that over and over and over again, and it was the greatest day. I got to just ride a helicopter, hanging off the skid of a helicopter all day long. It was awesome.
Nice.
Do you take any time out to talk to other stuntmen at all, or is it pretty much whoever you just work with? Because I think you guys could have like a great podcast about like, hey, remember this dangerous experience?
That's a good idea. I kind of don't. It's a good idea. It's a stunt. There might be one. There might be one, and I just haven't been invited. I'm not the typical stunt guy, so maybe there is one, but not really. I mean, I have a few friends my size who are stunt guys also. That I sometimes try to help swing work to them and stuff. That we talk about it, but not really.
Okay. Well, maybe we got a new project for you.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Now, I can tell you're also a professional actor, because not too many people would actually like devote the time and the energy to say like, well, how would Slimer move and what is he thinking? How does he breathe? What would you say like is another character that you would put in a lot of time like that, especially like in a suit? Because most of the time some actors just kind of feel like, oh, I'm in a suit and I'll just like let go, and they won't dive into the psychology, which is like the key of like finding purpose in a character.
Well, I do that with every character that I play, no matter how big or small. When I'm Mickey Mouse, I am Mickey Mouse, and I won't let someone come up to me and hey, what time is the such, and like trying to talk to me, or what do you want for lunch, or when I'm in character, I'm in character. And I've done that for all of them. When I played Brainy Smurf, I knew exactly who Brainy Smurf was, and I knew what he wanted in his life. And it's difficult when it's a character like that. I mean, you take like Slimer or something, it's hard to put a real human emotion into characters like that. I mean, I played the Leprechaun in Red Clover, which is also Leprechaun's Revenge on Sci-Fi.
Okay.
And so what, like playing the Leprechaun, there's a whole like hundreds of years of history that goes into this Leprechaun. But, he's buried, and there's all the history of when he comes to life. And so I had hundreds of years of history to try to think through and go through and help build the character. But the same goes for all of them. Brainy Smurf has his mannerisms and the way that he moves, and he moves a certain way because of the way that he feels about things. And I mean, it's like, for example, if you were to take, if we're all in our minds, think about Eeyore, and you can immediately you would picture his shoulders dropping and his head going, and then think about Mickey Mouse, and his shoulders are back and he's very proud. And there's just some movements of people and characters and things that we just know, that it's just in our head, innate, and every single person, the minute you think of a character, that's you think of their full body. Like I said, like Eeyore, if I say, okay, think of Eeyore, you don't think of some proud, shoulders back, it's, and to me, those things, I spot everywhere. I watch people, and I look at mannerisms and movements, and people that I know, I watch closely, because movements and mannerisms change based on how you feel. And so you want, obviously, to not portray any emotions when you're in something. You want to just be it and let people recognize that, hey, he is that. And so if I could just go like to Slimer, when it comes to Slimer, it would be easy to say like, yeah, I have this action where I'm supposed to come up out of this pile of trash, and I'm supposed to go right through Trevor and go through the back wall, and okay, action, right? So, okay, what are you going to do? I'm going to come out of the hole and I'm going to run. But none of that is really what I'm doing. It's actually, it all has to be, I want to be left alone. Get out of here. right? I've been in this attic for, now you have to come to the thought of how long have I been in this attic, right? And that's all brought about by the form of Slimer. Why isn't he the shape of a human, like Melody and the human ghosts are? And so all of those questions have to be answered. Why do I come out of the pile as opposed to staying in it and going deeper? Why am I in that pile at all? And all of those questions I have completely thought through. To me, some if I can get into it, someone who was a king or someone who was a powerful, gangster, which I've heard both of those attributed to Slimer in his life before he died, or even if it's someone like a movie star. None of those really work for me because Slimer stays in this pile for years and years and years. That's why he's a blob. He's lost shape. The longer you're a ghost, the more you lose your shape. And so not only is Slimer lonely, which to me he would have to be, but he's not there for lack of trying. My thought on Slimer is he's not a powerful creature who can go do what he wants. He's not Gozer. He's not Garaka. He's not any entity before or after a human that has the confidence to go out and scare people or to go be proactive in a like, I'm going to harm them. And I think we've seen Slimer's character. He's helpful. He likes the kids in the house. You guys have all seen the movie?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So we're allowed to spoil here.
Spoil away.
Absolutely.
There are things like when he eats the pizza, for example, that told me, and in reading the script, I learned a lot about Slimer. And he didn't just happen to be there because there was a pizza flying. He had to have been in the room. He didn't know that was going to happen. So that told me that he's in the room a lot. Slimer's in the room all the time. He's hiding behind closets and he's, under a table, and he's with the family a lot because he doesn't want to be alone all the time. And my thinking of it is somebody who hides away, don't come up here. That isn't a king. That's someone who's afraid to leave. And so Slimer just, I get the question, well, why is Slimer in the firehouse all these years? It's because he doesn't have the confidence to do anything else. That's how I've seen it. And I'd like to see his whole, why is Slimer still a ghost? What is his unfinished business? There's a lot of question around that. Maybe it's something silly, like he just needs to eat something stupid. He needs to eat something he's never eaten before. Or maybe it's deeper. Maybe it's more on Melody's level. Maybe he needs to make some personal correction or something. And so there's a whole lot, awful lot for me that goes into every character before I ever, put it on.
Oh yeah, that's totally something like one of the reasons why we started this podcast. Like all three of us have like bonded over music and movies, and we would say things like what if like Brandon Lee's character in The Crow didn't finish his business and he's still on Earth? Stuff like that. What if Batman would like eradicate all the crime in Gotham? Like what does he do?
Right.
Or like what's the backstory with these characters? And like you said, Slimer's just such an enigma that, could it even be as simple as somebody who, died from anorexia, and felt like they were lost in the world, or was made fun of, so they hide. But the guys in the Ghostbusters team like accepted him like family, or do we even know if Slimer's a he?
Right. No, it's a great point. Yeah.
So like you said, there's a lot of questions to that can be raised, and I think it'd be fascinating to learn more, because I remember like we all love Slimer and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and I was like, well, Slimer's obviously got a background, but like you said, it's just kind of like speculation and just nothing. It's like, what's Doctor Who's real name?
Yeah. and I think as the movies go on, I'm sure Robin Shelby had a different idea of who Slimer was. I would think the actors that, like Batman, the actors that are chosen to portray Batman do it in a different way, maybe have a different headspace for the character. I think most actors have a little secret thing about their character that they don't tell. That all characters have a secret little thing. Like, oh, he's overdrawn on his bank account. Or that the character, like you take somebody like some big, a police chief character, for example, and then you get 10 different actors. I think if in the back, I've heard that one, if in the back of the head, the powerful chief in his head, he's thinking, oh crap, I have to deal with my overdrawn bank account. But in the scene, he's, a powerful police chief that gives him a little bit of vulnerability, and I think actors who have that little built-in little character thing that nobody knows about, like for example, what is Podcast's real name? Obviously he knows. The actor, he knows. He's got in his head. He knows very well what Podcast's real name is, but we don't get to know that yet. So those kind of things I think are great and necessary, because I think you have to have a full character, to fully play somebody. You've got to know if somebody asks you like rapid fire questions about that character, you've got to be able to just answer them off the top of your head, even without even having thought of it, because like if somebody asks you a question about yourself, you've got that answer right away. What'd you have for breakfast this morning? Or what do you want for breakfast tomorrow? You can answer that question in a second because it's you. And so you have to be enough in that role that you can just do that from the character's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as an actor, I have to ask, is there a dream role a character that you would just love to play one day? Like, in the drop of a pin, you are there. Is there a character you'd love to play one day?
I guess not. I hadn't really ever had any that I wanted to. I would honestly say now, having done it, that it would be Slimer.
Okay.
I really do think, I really do. I mean,
Nice.
like I didn't know what I was doing going into it or anything, but now that I've fully like been embraced by the whole Ghostbuster world and everything, I haven't seen any other franchise like it. And so to play a role, such an iconic role, I mean, when could I ever have hoped to have giant billboards with my character, just my character on it, buses? I mean, I saw here in Hollywood, I saw entire buildings with Slimer, popping out of it.
That's wild.
So that's pretty huge. I couldn't really have ever hoped, I mean, it's not my face, but it's my character. It's who I'm playing. And so like, I really never would have imagined that I would have giant billboards up on, on Hollywood Boulevard and stuff. So having done it, I would say I can't really look past, I can't see anything beyond Slimer. Like, wow. And
Yeah.
But I will say I have, obviously, like in Seabiscuit, I wasn't a creature. I was just an actor, and I've been an actor in a lot of things. And so I do have, designs on acting out of a suit. So if I have anything hopes, it would be that, I'd like to have a good acting career where I'm recognized as, the actor and not the creature.
Of course. Excellent.
Yeah, like you said earlier. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was say, since you brought up the pizza, I have to know, is that a prop pizza or was that real pizza that was being used to move across the table?
The pizza that you see in the movie is real. We had a rubber one that we rehearsed with and we used to shoot a couple takes, and right away we realized that's not gonna cut it. And we had a whole stack of real pizzas right there on the set that everybody was excited about, hoping that we weren't going to use them all. But and we didn't. We only used a couple. And so what happened was Robin Guyver is a puppeteer who he had two rods, basically one on either end of the pizza. And in the beginning, the real pizza was kind of hard. The bottom of it was kind of hard. And so the first couple takes, it didn't look great because it was kind of flat. But over time, as it got worked and it got more pliable, he was able to make it bend. And so the shot where it comes out of the box is all one take, where Robin just puppeteers the real pizza out of the box, kind of rolls it along there's a little, there wasn't the table in the movie wasn't actually there. So we were just on a blue screen. So he's got the pizza on the two rods and he just sort of walks it over toward my mouth. And then I reached up and grabbed it and folded it all up and shoved it in my mouth. And and we did that like 3 times with the real pizza, and it was, I think, the third one that we used. And I have a really good behind the scenes shot of that with Gil, like, yeah, and the whole lot, watching, laughing, and then I had to go around and watch the monitor and watch it, and it really was hilarious for all of us watching it. So,
That
but it
was
was a
such
real
a
pizza.
key scene too. That was such a Slimer scene.
Yeah, he saved the day for sure. Yeah.
So you actually had full mobility with the hands too, so it was just like wearing a glove.
Yeah, the arms are mine. The way that the suit worked was it was we would lower the whole suit down over me. So the helmet would fit down over my head and my nose and my eyes. It would come down around my nose. And you can look in the movie, you can see it pretty clearly once you know. When he opens his mouth, the tonsils are my nose. And so you can see 2 indents to either side of the tonsil. So as he opens his mouth, the tonsil is just my nose. And
Huh.
yeah, so I look, I would see out of the mouth. And when I would lower my head, just with my shoulders like this, I would open and close the mouth. And so I could open and close
Oh
the mouth.
wow.
And by moving my head this way, it would make his jaw, how his jaw sometimes is flappy, it kind of goes to the side, and so I would do that
Yeah.
with my head like that. I also had a rod that was on the lower jaw that went down to like my stomach, so that if I would crunch and push it in, then it would really push the jaw up and tightly close his mouth. So I had control of his jaw in that way. There were also a couple puppeteers at times when I was like flying. They would puppeteer the jaw, or they would puppeteer, like for example, my eyebrows and my eyeballs looking either direction, and my nose twitching, a Slimer's nose twitching. Those were all servo. Those were all remote control.
Okay.
So I would control the whole body movement and where he looks, and his expressions, minus the eyes, and the nose twitch and the eyebrows. So,
That's awesome. I love that it wasn't CGI. That
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was important from the very beginning. That was Jason Reitman from the beginning. Jason and Gil both from the beginning. They wanted to go, back to the original 1984. Everything about Slimer, the design, the movement, the feel, the tone of Slimer. He's changed over the years, in the different versions, and he's gotten more like pet like and more cartoonish, and so this definitely went back to the original Slimer, where he's just an onion head like he was.
Now, is it how much practical effects did they actually use? Were you just the suit a lot, or was it kind of a mixture of the CGI and the suit?
There really wasn't any CGI. I mean, everything that you see of Slimer, I was there with the actors on the set. I was in the pile, and I was with, Trevor in the Trevor scene. I was there with Finn, and we filmed it right on the set. That's one of the biggest differences in this Slimer from the others. Mark Brian Wilson is a big guy, who played the original Slimer in the 1984 version. He's a real big guy.
Hmm.
And none of his stuff was shot on the set with the actors, because he would have been a giant Slimer.
Yeah.
So in my case, it totally worked. It's the whole reason I got the job. They called me because I'm 5 feet tall, and they wanted Slimer to be on set with the actors, the right size to fit in. And so this is the first time that Slimer has actually been right there on set, a practical on set actor with the other actors. And so to me, that made all the difference. That makes him like he's there. He's part of it. He's
That's way cool.
part of the story for real.
it also helps the actors too to have that tangible asset there and help their character feel like there is a presence here.
Mhm.
Because it's, to me, it just seems like, now I haven't worked with CGI, but I can only imagine somebody says, you see this, this like green pole that's the monster coming to get you. You got to look scared. And it's like, well, it's not like it's Robert Englund and Freddy Krueger attire. It doesn't feel like it's actually threatening.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's true. That's I think I know when I'm in a suit, I always ask to be there for the actors. I always try to be there for the actors, and I see actors do that all the time when they're reading the opposite lines for the other actors. There are some who will go to their trailer and let a PA read the opposite lines for the actor on camera, but most actors, and especially the good ones, the older ones, really, the ones who've been around, I see they often want to be there for the eye line for the actor. It's part of the scene. They want to be a part of the scene, and so I mean, I was certainly happy to be a part of the scene. So
Oh yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, this is a fantastic franchise. This has been like a revitalization. I know all of us being Ghostbusters fans as well. We were all like, "Oh, this Frozen Empire trailer looks pretty cool." Jeff was even saying it looks like they're taking it more from the cartoon, and I'm hoping that we do get more like cartoon kind of like scenarios because that universe can be expanded upon so much, and we've only gotten like this much of it, like from the
yeah.
1980s, unfortunately.
Mhm.
I think this was kind of a a reach toward the cartoon. And Garaka seemed to me to be more of a real Ghostbusters style
Yeah.
menace. And
100%.
I think also the scope of it has gotten much bigger. The entire city was frozen, and now we know it's because all the little mini puffs are in the truck leaving. So now we know it's no longer contained in New York City. So now the ghosts are going to be everywhere, and the Ghostbusters are going to have to go fight ghosts all over the world. And so, in a way, I think it's now kind of stretched, a little bit closer to the real Ghostbusters and to the cartoonish style, where it was kind of a blend of the two. It's a much bigger world for sure now, bigger than just New York City in the firehouse.
Oh yeah, the fan clubs that say like we're from Pennsylvania and we got like a Ghostbusters fan club that says, yeah, we're Ghostbusters Philadelphia branch.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And these other fan clubs that say like, yeah, I'm the like Orlando branch in Florida or something. It's like that would just be so wild to see that it's just sprouting out.
yeah, it has been. Every state has at least one Ghostbusters group, which is pretty incredible. And the whole Ghostbuster thing has been so Ghostbuster like family has been really is kind of weird is really the only word I can use for it, because I've seen fandom in every genre. Every movie has a fan group, a fan base. As like you were talking Freddie and Jason, and of course, I know people that wear the Freddie shirts and their whole lives are Freddie, and but there's something about the Ghostbuster fan group that I find to be different. It's the camaraderie, and the angle toward doing good, doing charity work. I most of the Ghostbuster groups are not just out there for their own egos and to get autographs and to sell for themselves. They're doing charity work for children's groups and stuff.
Yeah. I actually did meet a Ghostbusters group when I was living in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and they actually had a very, very close recreation of Ecto 1, and they had
Hmm.
the suits and they had their own like prosthetic Slimer that was like on the top of Ecto 1. So, but they did a lot of charity work in the area,
Yeah,
which was perfect.
yeah, yeah. That's what I found. I found they're all very connected and helpful, and it's a really interesting community that I've been really welcomed into. So it's been quite an experience for me.
Oh yeah, we've totally said like the three of us that if Ghostbusters was a real business, like we probably would have all applied
We could fly.
and been like, "Yo, let's do this." Because we talk about stuff like like our ghosts real and search for answers, and we listen to people like Ed and Lorraine Warren, or not like real ghost hunters, not like what you see on it was a History Channel or
Right.
something like that, but
My channel.
like legit sort of stuff. And then I thought at first, like when I saw Frozen Empire, that it was going to have some sort of like incorporation with a little bit more of like real ghost lore, like how they say when there's like a spirit in a room, it gets really cold, or like in The Exorcist, the room like really froze because for some reason when there's an entity of evil, the room always freezes. And I thought, well, Frozen Empire, maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah.
Not really, but still cool.
I think it does to a degree. I think Dan Aykroyd really does. He really does study a lot of this stuff, and I in an original script was written from real, or from what he believes is real. And
Mhm.
so I don't even today, in the in the Afterlife script and in Frozen Empire script, I think whenever they're talking about ghosts and ectoplasm and all of that stuff, I think it's all from a real, like what could be real. I mean, I
Okay.
just, which is what's interesting is I don't see it as much like fantasy, you know, as much as it could be, as much as other fantasy movies are. Like this is obviously not real, like Statue of Liberty isn't really marching down the street and all that stuff, but I think it's based in, like for example, Slimer is really slimy. Excuse me, because ectoplasm is leftover emotions, and so it means that Slimer he's much more emotional than the other ones that don't have. Like, why doesn't Pukey have as much slime as Slimer? It's fewer emotions. I would argue,
Yeah.
and so they all have their own. All of the characters have their own development and their own level of ghostness, I guess.
So there's like an element of truth with like find your own research and like whatever interests you, but this fantasy element is basically for the entertainment. That's actually really cool because it seems like then it grasps a wider range of people then.
For me, I think a little bit of reality is necessary. When I'm
Mhm.
watching a movie that's just so far fetched, characters are dying and coming back to life and all that stuff. Well, I just lose interest because what does it matter if they die? They're going to just come back and all that stuff. But
Stakes
if
aren't there.
yeah, but if it's based in somewhat reality where that could actually happen, then that's scary. A movie about a home intruder is much scarier to me than The Exorcist or something, or the devil, or I'm much more afraid of someone breaking into my home, than the devil invading or something. So for me, I guess the amount of realness, there has to be an element of this could really happen, or there's no reason to be invested.
Right.
Right, of course.
Now, do you have any, I guess, behind the scenes stories that you would love to tell?
Hmm. Um, I don't I don't know about stories. There are a couple really cool things that I don't know if people know. I'll tell you one really great example is the Slimer suit that I wore was actually contained pieces of the original Slimer suit from 1984.
That's
Oh,
cool.
wow.
I don't know if you guys have seen the condition of the original suit, but it's just deteriorated. It's just a pile of, well, it's nothing now because they've taken it and they've ground it up into powder, and they put that powder into the mold of the Slimer suit that I wore.
Okay.
And so, and for me, it was very emotional. It was like DNA. It was actually like,
Yeah.
wow, I am actually wearing the 1984 Slimer. And to me, it made me feel like this isn't a new suit. This isn't a new Slimer, because not only the exact design, but he's the exact foam. It is made with the original 1984 Slimer foam. And that to me was the greatest story. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't wait to tell my friends and stuff about it. So I don't know how much that will mean to other people, but for me being in it, it was everything. Knowing that is Slimer. That is Slimer that you're looking at on the screen up there. It's not some recreation or it's not somebody's idea of it, but that right there, that is Slimer. He, as much as a ghost would deform and reform, and that's Slimer. As much as it was Slimer in 1984, he's just been reshaped, So
No, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
thanks.
Mm-hmm.
What's next on the agenda for you?
Well, Y2K is a movie that I did with Rachel Zegler and Jaden Martell from It. And it's such an awesome movie. I can't wait for it to come out. I'm holding my breath. I was hoping before we did this thing that it was going to be announced. I keep waiting for the trailer to come out. But it hasn't yet. But it's an A24 film.
Oh yeah, nice.
Directed by Kyle Mooney, and I play a robot that is. I kind of don't want to say too much, but
that's fine.
Respectable.
It's a beautiful character. It's a creature that I could completely humanize and think it's a robot, but I was able to humanize, and I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait for other people to see it. Slimer is a very iconic character, and people know Slimer immediately. So I didn't have to introduce Slimer to anybody. Cool Blue is a character that people are going to really love to be introduced to. I think there are going to be toys. There's going to be, I think Cool Blue has such a personality. I kind of put him on it. To me, the movie is a lot like E.T., where there's this creature that's lovable. You want to take care of him, but you don't understand him. You don't know what he is, and also he might kill you. And and that's what makes Cool Blue a really fun character. And I had so much fun acting with Rachel Zegler through the whole thing, and that was really awesome. And Jaden Martell was really cool, and the whole cast really. There's some really great cast members in it, and I got to throw in some ideas and add things to the script, and that I can't talk about yet, but they had some scenes that were just really simple, and I was able to go, no, why don't we do this? And like, I'm easy to pick me up, throw me around, take advantage of the fact that I'm a stunt guy. And they were able to do that, and I'm so super psyched about Y2K. So that's coming up. And then this weekend I'm going to Minot, North Dakota, where I'm doing a convention. I'm signing. It's called a MagicCon, and I'm going to be signing posters and pictures and doing Q&A and all that stuff.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Now, is that your first convention you've done, or is it something that you've done for a while?
It's my first convention as Slimer. I did do a signing. I don't know if I'd call it a convention, but I did a signing, my first actual signing at We Can Be Heroes Comics in Chatsworth a couple weeks ago. Oh. So that was my first one. I did that with the other Slimers. The other two Slimers were there. But this is my first outing, as Slimer.
Way cool.
Did you get to keep any props at all from the movie, or like any slime in a jar?
I didn't keep slime in a jar, but I do have some props. I got some cool ones. I got a few pieces of the trash. So I've got quite a few pieces of the trash from the pile, and some of it was just literally just wrappers. So I've got like a bag of wrappers, but some of it was more like painted, and it was more art design. So I've got like 3 or 4 pieces glued together. Those are the hero pieces that were in the front. And so, yeah, I've got a couple of those. I got a couple really cool, call them puddles of slime, but you can just pick them up and move them around. It's not really slime. So, but when you lay it down, it looks like it's wet. So I've got a few of those. So I could just like lay it on the floor or lay it on my desk, and it looks like there's slime there. So I got a few of those.
Nice.
I got quite a few of the shirts. I don't know if you guys noticed up in the attic, but there was merch all over the attic that was supposed to be like Ghostbusters merch from Ghostbusters 2. And so when I went up there in that attic, we all saw the whole thing. We were up there for a couple weeks. So we saw all of the like t-shirts and all the magazines, like the Time magazine with them on the cover, and the Omni magazine, all the, that everybody knows. So those were scattered all around the whole attic of the firehouse. So at the end of the 2 weeks when we were done shooting, the designer came around like, hey, do you want this? Do you want that? So everybody was like, yes, I will take this. I will take that. So yeah, my suitcase was full when I came home for sure. I got a couple cool things. I got a little piece of foam off of the Slimer. They had to trim him down to, I was on a harness. So in order to make room for the harness, they had to trim a little bit off the bottom. So I got a little piece of
Okay.
Nice.
Slimer
Very
trimming.
cool. Very cool.
I got a nice little piece of the blue screen that we used to film on. So they had to trim that. So I got a piece of the blue screen. So I got, a few things here and there.
Did you get a whole picture with like everybody, past Ghostbusters, new Ghostbusters with Slimer and director
Yeah,
and writer?
we did.
Nice.
Yeah, we got a lot of those on the set. Yeah, we got a whole lot of group photos. Some of them have come out like on Instagram and stuff. Not all of them yet, but most of them have, I think. But yeah, I got to meet everybody and got to take pictures with everybody, and it was very strange because this whole experience is, I keep using the word weird, but it's been very weird because I've had people take their picture with me and ask for my autograph for a number of projects. I was in Peter Pan on Broadway, and I had
Yeah.
a line of people. When you come out after the performance, you have a line every night, people wanting your autograph, and so I've done that. And when I was in Seabiscuit for a little while, I had people asking for my autograph, and so it's not that I haven't been through this. It's not that I haven't signed autographs before,
Mhm.
but never on this level. Never have I had. I mean, I get in the mail. I get letters every day. I send stuff out to people every day. I have a PO box where people are constantly sending me things and like, well, you sign this and will you sign that? And the Ghostbuster world is really crazy. I forget exactly what the question was.
Oh, I was just saying, like, did you guys get like a group picture with like the
Mm.
past Ghostbusters and new guys, the
Oh yeah.
director and
Oh yeah.
Jason?
That's what I was saying. Yeah. The past Ghostbusters, as well as the stars of the movie, Kamal Nanjiani, and everybody was so inviting and friendly to me. The weird part of it was that it wasn't so much like they were meeting me, which they weren't. I mean, they didn't care so much about me. It was, oh, that's Slimer. And so I had people like Kamal Nanjiani coming over to me all excited to meet Slimer, which was very strange because, like, no, I was really excited to meet Kamal. Like, wow, it's really nice to meet you, Kamal. I've seen, all your work. You're Paul Rudd. Like, Paul, it's great to meet you, But they were the opposite. They were come running over, oh, I've really got to meet Slimer. And it was like, well, that's really
awesome.
weird. So it was a weird angle to be meeting these, the stars of the movie.
I met Ernie Hudson before, and he was like one of the most down to earth, like he's probably one of the best dudes, like human beings I've ever met in my life. So I said to him, it must have been so much fun to just film movies to have guys like Aykroyd and Ramis and obviously Bill Murray around, even though like stories about him were like up and down because I guess he could be temperamental for a lack of a better word.
Yeah, but not on Ghostbusters.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I've said this before actually to in other interviews. I've worked on a lot of film. I've been doing this since I was 17. I've been working in Hollywood on film sets, and I'm not blowing smoke in any way to say this. It is very, very rare to work on a film set like Ghostbusters. Like Ghostbusters in the way that they have such high camaraderie. Everybody is so friendly, like not in a bullshit way. I never once on the set, I didn't hear anybody screaming at anybody. I never saw anybody throw their, script down. And you see that all the time. I see on the set, almost every project I work on, there's some blow up, somebody screams, somebody gets mad. But not only every single shoot day that I worked on was completely, everybody was loving, everybody was excited. People were playing the Ghostbuster soundtrack, people do 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 do, as they're walking around. It's so weird. And it carries over. Nobody said to me, hey, when you're done filming, I need you to go out there and be really positive about it. I need you to smile and do lots of interviews. And nobody had to tell me that, and nobody had to say that to anybody, because we all just have the experience of working on a Ghostbusters movie, and we all I think everybody is legitimately excited and loves it, and that isn't the case for every other project I've worked on. And I see that for the leads in other movies that I double, or if I play a smaller role or whatever. You can see it when they go out and they're marketing the movie. You can just they're remembering the process of, oh, we were shooting at 4 a.m. and it was freezing and people were yelling at me, and all of that stuff. But none of that happened with Ghostbusters. They were so great about every little detail. Everybody was so, from the smallest crew member to up to Eric Reich, who runs Ghost Corps, to Jason and Gil. They were always so friendly and awesome. In fact, I'm pretty sure I pissed off Jason a couple times when I was in Slammer. I say I really embody the character, and he's mischievous. He's gonna mess around, and I did a lot of climbing up on the camera and unplugging stuff. I was causing problems. So um,
Funny.
I love hearing that. Because that is something that lacks on movie sets. I've heard so many horror stories, like you said, and it is a very rare thing where everybody just comes together, and it really did show on screen. I mean, that usually, like, when there's something toxic around, that, like, no matter how great of an actor you are, or working with them behind scenes, it still shows on somebody's face. Like, I'm just here for a paycheck, let's go. Like,
yeah.
not to call out names like Alec Baldwin, but I feel like he just kind of sounds out. Like, when he's not happy, it's like,
I had one.
it the way I see it.
I had an example on the tip of my tongue and thought better. I'm not going to say it.
you
I've
you you
seen,
can't.
No, totally fine. Totally fine.
I
yeah,
can.
one of the movies I worked on, I saw 100 takes, and that's no exaggeration. I saw 100 takes, and sometimes that'll happen between a director and an actor, just a pissing contest. The actor doesn't want to give the director what he wants, and so the director will say, well, then we're going to be here until tomorrow, and we'll just do it all day.
Divas, huh?
Yeah.
Now, kind of get it off topic. When you were talking about being on set, were they actually fully built? Like, was the attic fully built as a set piece, or was it just like a half set?
The attic was a full attic. It was complete. The entire firehouse was, every bit of it. Wasn't all really stacked on top of each other. It wasn't a real the firehouse building itself was a real building. It was built on the set, and all of it was real. When you go up to the living quarters, it was all real, and you really do go down the stairs. The attic itself was not actually above the other two floors. It was built on a different stage, but it was raised up because underneath they had a whole bunch of mechanism that made it shake for when the whole place shakes. So there was like a vibrating machine, and
Oh,
plus
wow.
I had to go through a hole underneath, and so it was raised up off the ground. And so we
Oh.
did talk about going up to the attic, and we did have to go upstairs to get up to the attic. And so going up to the attic really was going up to the attic. But once we got up to the stairs and we entered the attic, it was a full roofed, working full attic. And it was all completely 100% real, as if you were going to invite the audience in to walk around and look at it. There's so much detail in every bit of that set, not just the attic, but every bit of the set that's so detailed that the audience will never see. And I see that on film sets all the time. It's amazing. It's incredible what set designers go through, because they never know what the camera is going to see. The director on any whim might decide, oh, let's turn the camera around this way for a second, and now we're going to see close up of that bookshelf. And so every book has to be exactly right, even though we were never even planning on seeing that book. And so when I walked into the attic, it was like that. I was looking at all of the old computer screens that were literally from the original movie. I saw like all of the helmets, the fire helmets, the old extinguishers, the magazines, the shirts, from the original movie, or from two, the roof of the firehouse was destroyed. And so when I looked up, there was repair, like it's never even seen in the movie, but to be on the set and looking up at the roof, there's like tin and it looks like the whole roof has been completely repaired because it would have had to have been repaired. And so every single thing in that place was as real, like if you closed your eyes and walked up there and then took off a blindfold, you would just think you're in the attic. There is nothing that would make you think, for me, nothing at all that would make me think I'm on a film set at all. There was no fourth wall down, no roof missing with lights coming in, none of that at all. It was all practical in this attic. And so if something was lit, it was a light that they brought in. They didn't have light bars across the top because it had a roof. It had a tin roof like the firehouse would have.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so
And,
awesome. I would have loved to have seen that.
and that went for every single set. When I went Melody's Diner, the kitchen, Trevor's bedroom had his socks and his dirty clothes, and it had it had dirty food. Like I knew what Trevor had eaten the previous day, what snacks he was eating, and the design for the library and the laundry downstairs at the containment unit. Every single thing was so detailed. It was really just amazing. It was like being right there in real life.
Now, was that the set designers like key, or was that Gil or Jason that said, "Oh, we got to make sure everything's to scale"? Do you happen to know that?
I'm sure that's the art designer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, at Gil and Jason's direction, but I would say that Gil and Jason are probably only concerned with what's on the storyboard. Like what sign is in the back of this shot, whereas the art designer is concerned with what's behind the camera.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I find interesting. So I don't know how much Gil and Jason ever even considered what's behind the camera, but I know the art designer did.
Yeah, because that's extreme detail. I mean, the only time I heard anybody take detail like that super serious was probably Stanley Kubrick. And they said he was like a serious stickler. Like if you had an ashtray from the 1960s in a 1950s scene, get rid of it.
Send them over the edge. Yeah, everything had to be continuity.
Yeah, I see that more and more now. Actually, more and more sets that I'm on. I think it's because roles I've noticed over the years. Like I keep going back to, I've been doing this since I was a teenager, so I've noticed over the years that roles on the film set change. And it used to be, they used to take Polaroids of everything for continuity, and obviously nobody's got Polaroids anymore. The roles have really changed, and I think they've gotten so detailed, meaning the person who in the 80s, like I think back to Silver Spoons, for example, the person who designed the set, the person who put the notebooks out for the kids' bedrooms and things that made it look like, they also had 4 other jobs. They were the prop guy, and they were, they did a few other things on the set, and so maybe even they were even a costumer as well, stuff like that. And so
Oh wow.
they didn't really pay. They knew there have to be some books on the shelf. We got to have a bookshelf, and maybe even they've got to be like kids books. So we're gonna put kids books. But as for like your detail, this book wouldn't have come out yet. This book came out in 1987, but this show is set in 1983. So that book can't be on the shelf. That stuff I didn't see start happening until the 90s. And maybe they were doing it and I wasn't working on that caliber film or something. But it seems to me that everybody in their role, makeup, the line producer, and the like everybody, script supervisor, they're all much more detail oriented. And I think that's probably the function of, just like in a factory, right? We're getting down to knowing exactly how things need to work. And so, over the years, we've discovered that this doesn't work. Let's get rid of this, and let's get everything right down to this little minute detail. And it feels like on a film set, everybody does that now. There is no more touching a ladder if you're the electric guy. Like, I don't touch that ladder. The ladder guy does that, So that's what I attribute the whole art design. I think people who are doing art design now have gone to college to do art design, and it's set design, and they're the designer, and that's what they're there for, and they don't have any other distractions. And so the other thing that changes that is that now we have 4K and we have the ability to pause things that when we were sitting in a movie theater, we didn't have the ability to go, I wonder what books are on that shelf. And as a line producer, I've run into that where I have GPS coordinates. Like if you're looking at a in camera, it's supposed to look like a body worn camera, like a police
Mm.
camera, for example, and you have GPS coordinates. Well, people are going to be checking that, and so you can't just put little dummy GPS coordinates. You've got to put actual, real GPS coordinates of where that character is supposed to be in the movie, because somebody will pause it, zoom in on it, and they're going to go, "Hey, that says." That it's GPS this or that, and that says it's Montana, but this is set in Los Angeles. And so that sort of detail, I think we now have to pay attention to that we just never had to.
Jeff was that guy.
Well, good.
Yeah. Don't deny
Yeah.
it either.
I'm
I'd be
not.
like, can I just watch the movie?
It's true.
And that
Now,
and that comes from people now watching movies 20, 30 times, which also used to that didn't happen either, but now that people have their own DVDs and they can just watch a movie anytime they want. I mean, I'm sure you guys can all pick a movie that you've seen more than 10 times, right?
Oh, easily.
And that's where those details start to come out. You see it once. Like I've seen Frozen Empire 6 times now, and I can't wait to see it on DVD or Blu-ray because I want to pause it. I want to be able to pause and go frame by frame, and so I'm one of those two.
Yeah, when I started learning more about filmmaking, I became more of a stickler for that sort of stuff because it does make a huge amount of a difference. And then you got some people who throw in Easter eggs to just be like, well, let's give something for the audience. And it actually makes them more fun.
Yeah.
When you do that now. Like you said, like seeing like certain rappers or the merchandise up in the attic and you go, oh yeah, that's from two.
Yeah.
That's the fun stuff, especially for a film that's been like for what 30 going on 40 years now.
40, yeah.
So,
In June, 40. Yeah.
right. So it's just like really awesome to see that nostalgia coming back and go, oh yeah, I remember watching that when I was a kid and like there's the balloons or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but in the very back of the firehouse, there's the original Ghostbusters sign, the big metal sign that they put up over the firehouse. So in the first one, it's just like a hand painted Ghostbusters, but in the Frozen Empire, it's in the very back, like kind of standing up against the wall. So there's all kinds
no
of
way.
things from the original that are stacked up around the set.
That's so cool. That's like the video game kind of did that too when you walked around the firehouse and they had the painting of Vigo and you could talk to him.
Yeah.
I love that. I love all that stuff like that. It just goes to show that like there was heart into making the film. And obviously they got, like you said, a good group of people to have a positive attitude and like really come in and just like give it all they got. I mean, like I said, somebody could have easily said, okay, I'm being Slimer, just let me come in, flail my arms. And, you actually said, like, what does he do? What's his backstory? How would he react? Like save the kids eating the pizza scene. So it's like, yeah, I respect that.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
No problem. Hey, thank you. Because if
Yeah.
it would show on screen and that's going to live forever anyway. So got to make sure you do it right.
Yeah.
Now, did you do anything else other than play Slimer on the set?
I did. I puppeteered the library ghost, the
Oh wow.
witch, the purple dress library. Yeah. I
Mhm.
was one of 4 puppeteers and I was the left arm. So, she comes out and I
Yes.
raised the left arm. So, that's about it. That's the only other thing other than Slimer, but I did get to puppeteer her, which I was really excited about. I'm a Ghostbuster fan too, so to be a part of any of it, and I remember her part in the original so well. So to see it reprised like that, so identical, was really awesome. And then to be right there on it was really cool.
So you got to be part of two iconic ghosts from the series, which is a nice touch, even with being a Ghostbusters fan too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was really great. I mean, I that has not been. I haven't missed that. You know, every day when I was on the set, I would marvel at, like, look at where I am. You know, it's and it still is like that to a degree. I've been telling the story that kind of repeating it now, I guess, but it really feels like, and I tell my friends, it feels like I was sitting in a diner one day and AC/DC came in and, like, sitting around eating breakfast going, damn, we really need a drummer. Hey, dude, you want to be our drummer? And I'm like, yeah, I'll be the drummer for AC/DC. And then like, yeah, here I am. And then here I am waking up the next morning and I'm still the drummer for AC/DC. And that's how it feels. I wake up and I go like, wow, I played Slimer, and then it's a year later and it came out. I'm like, wow. And it's still like that. I wake up in the morning and I still feel like, holy cow, this is still going on. I've got people calling and writing. And, you know, every single day I get mail. I get letters in the mail and, hey, can you sign this? Or even just letters just saying, you know, thanks for this or that. Or so this has been the weirdest, you know, like surreal experience that's the best way I could, like, put into one of those movie ideas, you know, where you're like all of a sudden like, hey, I'm the drummer from my favorite band. That's crazy. So here I am playing Slimer.
Now, it might be too soon to know, but was there any talk about another Ghostbusters in the pipeline at all? And Slimer coming back?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk. It all, I mean, it all just depends on how this one does. You know, I mean, it seems to me like they're making plenty of money on it. So I would certainly hope that already there's enough, you know, to show that they would make money on another one. But, you know, that's obviously Sony's call, and they are, I assume, in that decision process, you know, as we speak, all based on how this one does. You know, it's number 3 still, which is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after all this time, it's still number 3, and it's just opened internationally, and so there's going to be a lot more, you know, to come from around the globe, and then, you know, the games and the merchandise and all of that stuff. So I feel like it's a no-brainer. There will be Ghostbusters movies forever, you know, to come. And that means obviously all of the storylines that we've just gotten to know, the all of, you know, the Spanglers, we're going to follow all of them, and I assume we're going to follow Slimer. It doesn't make sense to me that we wouldn't follow Slimer. I mean, I think from the way they ended the movie, there are a lot of questions people have. You know, is Slimer possessed by Possessor? Did the Possessor ghost possess Slimer? Is Possessor even capable of possessing Slimer? Did Slimer just eat him? And now Slimer is, in a sense, a Ghostbuster. Can he just go around eating ghosts in a way that can help? You know, there's, to me, I think he flew out of the firehouse at the end and flew away with the sewer dragon. So there's a lot of questions to me about what his motivations are in that moment. Was he possessed or was he not possessed? Because I personally feel like Slimer would do everything in his power to get back to that firehouse, even if it has been destroyed again. It's going to have to be repaired again now, but I think that's his spot. That's his, you know, vortex, and that's where he's got to go. And so if Slimer is under his own power and if he's not possessed, then I think Slimer will go back there and we'll have more of his story there. I think there's also a lot of room for a story of Slimer being possessed and how do they overcome that and what happens to him. I also think what Slimer's story, you know, what he needs to overcome, what he needs to accomplish to move on is something that I would love to see, and I think the audience might like to see Slimer's story taken up as well. It's hard to say where they're going to go with it. You know, they might leave him completely out of the next one. They might tell his story entirely. They might just, you know, touch on him like they did. I'm with all of you guys and dying to find out, you know.
I think it would be a great backstory because he is such a lovable character. I mean, he's just like I was in the theater with my fiance, and I was going like when Trevor's sending in the trap, I'm like, leave him alone. and and she even says to me like, why do you love Slimer so much? And I just said because he just likes to eat. He's lovable. He leaves everybody alone. He's funny.
Yeah.
And I think like to have a character like Phoebe, maybe even find like Egon's notes or something and say like, in the firehouse, I was working with Slimer trying to understand ghosts, and Slimer maybe was like trying to communicate back to him, and Phoebe picks that up. There, and then you find out more about Slimer, and she might be able to break through to him, especially after now she was talking to Melody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe that could lead to like hey, she's talking to Slimer, and now Slimer actually has a movie where he becomes a hero at the end, because we've seen that in the cartoons, and I think in the comics as well. There were times where Slimer has like been the hero and helped the Ghostbusters in bad situations. So
Well, I would argue that he did that in Afterlife. He ate the pizza.
yeah.
He definitely
Mhm.
saved all of their lives right at that moment. So, in my thinking in shooting it, it's not clear in the script whether he intends to save the family or if he's just eating a pizza because he wants to eat the pizza. But to me, what's important about that is even before he knew there was a pizza there, he was in that room. And so that tells me that he is with the family, not with the food. And
Mhm.
so that tells me a lot about him. Anyway.
Mhm.
That's what makes me say that I think it would be great for like someone like Phoebe to be like, okay, why did he do this? Why is this guy still around? And maybe Dan Aykroyd can come back and say, well, he was our first capture, and he actually helped us understand other ghosts because they're all scientists, and it's like here's our previous notes. So I think
Yeah.
that'd be great to have him be a focal point at some point more.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the Trevor Slimer relationship is being, brought out. I mean, I don't know, that both Phoebe and Trevor have that kind of that teenage syndrome, where they just want somebody to, every teenager feels like they're misunderstood and they don't know, they don't have anybody who can listen to them. And that's obviously exactly where Phoebe was and why she was open to the friendship with Melody. That's why she was, so needy. And I think Trevor is very similar. And so I think the Trevor Slimer story, I think the relationship between Trevor and Slimer, I think is ripe for opening up a lot of storyline about both characters, about where did they come from and who are they and what do they want. And for both of those characters, we don't know a lot about them. And so I feel like the hey, I know that guy. I think that was saying a lot about what's to come. I hope.
Mhm.
Mm. You guys have any other questions?
I'm good. I'm good.
No,
This is really informative. I love it.
yeah, I've been enjoying this.
Yeah.
Do you have
Cool.
questions for us? No, I'm kidding.
Hmm.
um, yeah. Oh, wait, how long were you on set for in London and in New York?
I was in London twice. So the first time I went for about 3.5 weeks, and then I went to New York for 2.5, and then I went back to London for about 2.5 weeks. So for like 3 months, I was working on it back and forth. So
Now, was it like were you working the full 7 days, or was it like certain amount of days a week?
I was always on the set. I was there full seven, whether they needed me or if I was on the call sheet or not. I was always there, um, mainly because all of the crew, all the puppeteers and everything, they were always called, so I would always want to be there with them. I didn't want them to have to, like, if they decided they wanted to test something or whatever, I didn't want them to have to wait for me to be brought in or whatever. So I was there every day. I was there in the morning from morning until night every, 7 days, 5 days, 5 days a week. No, we don't work on weekends or anything. The film schedule was wonderful. We would go in at like 10 in the morning and leave by 5, and there were no early mornings, there were no lates, there were not one time that I remember in the entire time we were shooting. And that, I mean, if any of you have ever been on a film set, you know how ridiculous this is.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was not one time in any city that I went to that I worked on Ghostbusters that we ever did overtime. And that's completely unheard of. We
That
were
is-
always out on time, almost always before. There was something so just amazing about, I guess I'll chalk it up to Eric Reich. He was basically, produced the whole thing. But all of the crew, the people that they got somehow, I've never done that. When I've line produced and I produced, you get down to 12 hours, like, oh God, we got 20 minutes. We got to go. It's always like that. Every film set I've ever been on is like that. But this one really wasn't. It was always just chill. It's going to take our time. Let's try this one more time. And oh, looks like we're getting close to 5. Let's just go ahead and knock off now. It was the coolest environment. It was really a lot of fun. And it gave us all a lot of time to all go out every night after we would finish filming, we'd go out and, hang out as a group together and stuff. And most film sets don't do that. You work 14, 15 hours and you leave at 11 p.m. and you got to be back at 6 a.m. and nobody wants to go do anything. You just got to go home. And so it made the experience being overseas a lot more fun because I got to go see a lot of places with everybody and stuff. So
Nice. Sounds like they really had their stuff together on that shoot. I mean, damn.
I mean, not only the shoot, but you've seen the advertising, the way that they've advertised this, and the the premieres. Really everything they've done has been like pretty incredible. And I try not to use that word because it's always a throwaway, like it's incredible. But being someone who has done that side of it, that trying to put together, okay, we got to get the vans and we got to get the drivers and we got to get the cars there and we got, the lights and, I mean, there's so much to put together that to see it come together so smoothly is really pretty awesome to be a part of.
And as fast as it was, because Afterlife came out in 2021.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I assume that production was like pretty fast, to be like, okay, Afterlife looks good. Let's get another one in here.
Yeah,
So
and they didn't decide to make another one real quick. So once they did decide, they didn't have a lot of time. So Frozen Empire came together very quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that's the case with the next one,
Yeah, I hope so too. Just especially because with like the originals like Annie Potts and Dan Aykroyd and Ernie and Bill Murray being, high up there in age. Like I think Ernie's 78 now.
Yeah.
It's like if we can get them in just as cameos just a little bit more, I mean, I'll be grateful for that because
Yeah.
I mean, if they're still around, I mean, let's use them.
Yeah. I'm hoping they're shooting some things now that they're just keeping in the can for in case any of them pass, then they can use them as ghosts, which I think would be really awesome. Like to have Dan Aykroyd come back, I mean, you would think about it in story. That would make perfect sense. If any of the Ghostbusters were to die, they would come back, in the way that Egon did. They would have the knowledge, how to make that happen.
Especially that conversation that Ray was having with Phoebe in a couple scenes there.
Yeah.
Not spoiling it, but
Yeah.
but it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Now, is there any shots that that they did that they ended up not putting in the film that you were part of? Sorry.
There is one that's a real good one. I'm trying to be careful. I don't want to get in trouble. I know they said that Gil said this movie is forged in fire, meaning, we went through all the tribulations to make this and get it out on time, and here it is. This is the finished product, here it is. He said, I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go change it. I'm not going to add scenes. I'm not going to change this movie because this is it. This is what we all, worked hard to complete. However, there are a bunch of scenes that I'd like to be seen, and that's what he said. So I'm really hopeful that the one scene that we shot that didn't make it will appear. And it has so much to do with where the story will go and who the relationship between the characters. And I can't give it away, but what I can say is that it's Slimer's tongue. Slimer's got a big tongue that comes out, and so it's a really great scene. So if you just picture Slimer, the big tongue coming out, and so that one I would love to see. I haven't seen anything other than the dailies when I was on the set. I haven't actually seen anything, but it is hilarious and awesome. And I hope that one day we can all see Slimer's tongue because it's a really good scene.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have anything else to add or want to ask Kevin?
No,
I'm good. This is great.
Yeah, I feel like we talked your ear off enough being the nerds that we are. We don't want to take up too much of your time because you are a busy man and you are a professional. But again, we can't thank you enough for this interview. This was really awesome.
Yes, thank you, Kevin.
And hearing you
Thank
talk
you.
about your experiences and like the actual devotion that you had to the character and playing the creature characters. Because like you said, like putting on a costume really does change the performance, and it really does bring a certain synergy to it, and you really feel and you want to get into more and do more and be more of that character. And because like I said before, once it's up on that screen, that's there forever, so you don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
And it's also like really awesome hearing your stories, your experience, and how everything that you had with like not just Ghostbusters, but like your career in general was really fascinating. So thank you again for sharing that, and thank you again for your time. This was really awesome.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yes,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Kevin.
Likewise. Yeah, thanks. It's been fun. I always enjoy talking about Ghostbusters and, filmmaking in general. So I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yep. So with that being said, we shall sign off. This is
All
Colin
right.
Peters.
John Rochetter.
Jeff Manfred.
Kevin Mangold.
Thank you all once again for listening. Stay safe. Stay crazy.
Please, somebody help me.
Oh, yeah.